Howdy, folks. Welcome to our Clocking the Gallop show for today. It's Thursday, the 14th of July. Different surroundings for me because I've got load shedding, Neil. So I've come to where our inverter is positioned. I'd like to invert it and convert it and do all sorts of verting with it with Eskom, but we are where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I've also been kicked out of where I normally do it from. That's because my wife's doing other things in the office. But anyway, we're all set for what is an interesting card, I thought, Nico. Better, if I can say, the average horse running, I think, better than what we see at the Vaal. So there's some nice horses running today.
Very nice. Strangely enough, it's a Turffontein meeting today on the main track at Turffontein, on the Standside track, and there are 8 races carded today. But before we go into that, just quickly, a bit of housekeeping. We've got a special guest on our show tomorrow, ahead of the weekend, and a man that's been in the news quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, and that is none other than Greg Bortz. Now, you and I know that Greg is a big supporter of Clocking the Gallop, and he loves watching our show. And when we don't go live for whatever reason, he's always querying why and the reasons why and so forth. He's a businessman, he's an entrepreneur, he's a very successful guy, and he's put his hat into the ring, so to speak, in terms of saving Cape racing. And we're going to ask him some pressing questions, really, about why he's gotten involved and what the strategy is.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating discussion. You forgot one thing. He's a Tottenham supporter.
Yeah, well, I was leaving that to you. I know you're going to discuss You're going to discuss soccer with him. It's not only business. We will have some fun with him too, but it's not only business. Yeah.
No, yeah. So you might have to do the business questions. I might have a few Tottenham chats and so forth. That's always a good thing. Yeah. So we look forward to that. It's going to be very interesting. And obviously a lot of punters have been asking me for a couple of weeks, months now about Cape racing. I don't always have the answers, and sometimes I do have the answers, but choose not to give them. So we'll hear from, literally, as you say, the horse's mouth.
Excellent stuff. Okay, well, let's go to today's proceedings. We've got 8 races carded today. I'll bring you up to date with the changes, as well as chat to Neil about the card today. So let's go to race number 1, which is due off today at 12:20. So we're coming to well ahead of the starting time. The track condition, by the way, is good, and there are no changes in the first race. Now, Neil, the big money is for number 10, Vivacious Spirit. I'll try and message Mr. Van Furen in a moment and see if he comes back to me with his comments about today. But the money's come for this one, Neil. Superbly bred filly by Silvano. Interestingly enough, Main Chance have got another horse in the race who we don't know much about the pedigree. And I was trying to look up the pedigree. All I know is that the sire sprinted. It was a German sire who sprinted and won grade 2 and grade 3 company. But the family is, well, the stallion is the source of a lot of prolific winners in Germany, Neil. So it's a very, very German family, hence why Andreas Jacobs has decided to race her here and kept her for her bloodline.
Yeah, absolutely, out of an Oasis Dream mares, but the market has spoken. Whether it's accurate or not, only the race will tell, but there's absolutely no support for it from 9 to 2 out to 12 to 1. And as you say, all the money comes from number 10, Vivacious Spirit. So it would be foolhardy to ignore that. Beyond that, some interesting pedigrees. There's the pedigree on the 8, Ponderosa Pine, nice name. But she too has not been supported in the betting market. So you'd think that Vivacious Spirit would clearly be the one. There's not much else. There's a United States, number 5, Idabel, or Idabel, perhaps. But yeah, it all looks about Vivacious Spirit, Nico. So, you know, from a bipod point of view, I think I'll take my chances and bank a 10 there.
Yeah, I think of the horses that have run, Neil, maybe, I mean, Labankia is well exposed, Neil. 3 Bells is no 4. Miss Soho is moderate, not the greatest. And then Montana Nymphus had 1 run. So it does look lean towards the first time of winning. And that's why we're going for where the money is, that all the big money's on that one. Right, let's move on to the second race, which starts off the place accumulator. Race number 2 is a maiden over 1,160 meters. There are now 2 scratchings here. Numbers 2, Blackburn Jet, has been retired, and number 5, Ignatius, who was going to be gelded yesterday. So that wouldn't have fitted his plans to run today. Now, again, big money here for number 4, Drop of Time. Again, Johan Janssen van Vuren, Gavin Larena. This ran behind, I think it's the stable companion, if I'm right saying that, Ridge Runner from the same yard. 2 3/4 lengths on debut would probably be good enough to win here. And the money, again, from, it looks like 16, 17 to 10 or 18 to 10 into evens, this one.
Yeah, I thought this looked a bit deeper in terms of pedigree. So obviously the field's not as big, so that's countering that argument. But Iron Fist was supported on debut and didn't run a bad race. So I think you've got to respect that. But you've got a Vercingetorix, Mr. Bodacious with Smunga riding. I know that that has also been tickled up in the betting market. Yes. But you know, I think there's a few there. I mean, One Great Times is I don't think he's going to Hollywood, but I mean, he sets a reasonable standard. His last 2 runs of second shows that he's got some ability. So I'm sure he's going to be out of the gates and on his bicycle. Interesting booking, Pierce Stradham on number 3, the Gliding Fish, who wasn't completely disgraced on debut. So yeah, I think Drop of Time will have to improve to confirm that support. I suspect he will, but I do think it's slightly deeper than the first race. That's my perception anyway.
Yeah, I think, as you quite rightly say, you know, the son of Vercingetorix, Mr. Bodacious, even Time to Meditate, Neil. Number 8 is the full brother to Gin and Tonic, who
finally cracked it.
Yeah, eventually cracked it, and belongs half share or a share of it to Roland Schofield, who's good old Celia's husband. So Celia has a share in that. Celia from Michael's Gin and Tonic. So
okay,
yeah, and so anyway, as you quite rightly say, I do believe it is a bit more open than that, and I think the money for Drop of Time could well be placed right there. And I'm thinking again, one of these younger horses might well turn up trumps there. And the same may be said of the third race, Neil, which is a maiden over 1,400 meters. They go a bit further in this race, and no changes in the third. They've backed this Volcano in Iceland.
Yes, I'm glad you called it that. I always want to, when I see it, I want to say "Eyes your little football," but that's generally what I have as far as the pronunciation is concerned.
It's actually like my surname, you know. So people get intimidated by just looking at my surname, but if you actually look at it and spell it out phonetically, or pronounce it phonetically, it's easy. So this is actually pronounced AF, Yella Yokel. So the J is in Iceland.
AF Yella Yokel.
AF Yella Yokel.
AF Yella Yokel. Yeah, I mean, that was nice improvement at the second start. But I thought there were a few more to improve here. And then you've got some very nice pedigrees here. You've got an Atticus Finch, that's number 6. He's a son of Master of My Fate out of that Cecil mare Alexia. That's one of the Turffontein, lines, broodmare lines. I didn't particularly like number 1, Fire Lord, Nico. I think, he's a lovely pedigree, but he's had chances. I don't think he's too good. He's better than his last run, but he hasn't won yet. And I know Keegan's got to ride him. It's Kaya Stables, but I would suggest that they've got much better 3-year-olds than that one. Not maybe on pedigree, but on ability. Positive Attitude has drifted in the market, but I think he's got some interesting stories about him. He's been gelded since he last ran, and he's changed yards. So he's moved from Wayo to Joe Soma, but he's drawn 10. Which isn't going to be in his favor. I tell you why I thought could improve, Nico, and it's a big price, is Warren and Candice Lanferner's horse, number 10, Lord Tennyson, who is drawn 1 with Muzzy on and comes from that prolific Thunderstruck form and wasn't disgraced last time. I thought 25 to 1 was quite a nice little place option for us there, but I suspect the Erupt number 9 will be the horse to beat.
Yeah, Neil. So interestingly, I was, by the way, the 4 positive attitude, Neil, has been gelded and changed yards. Rested for 6 months, but he has been gelded. He doesn't have the best of draws, positive attitude, but he's drawn at 10. He's got some good enough. His first 2 runs were pretty good. But I think that younger brigade of horse might just be the ones to follow there. AF Yellow Yokel at 8 to 10 for me offers no value. So I was also shopping around for a little bit. The horse just above it, Neil, is the Canford Cliffs horse, Dungeons. Now, we'll come to a horse in the very next race that we quite like. And there is little to choose. Well, I think there's about 2.5 lengths or so between that horse and this horse. But this horse gets the 1.5 kilos from Caden Brewer off. And Caden, if I'm quite right to say, that he needs just one more winner to lose the claim. I think that's the story.
He must be close, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got one more winner, or he's done it already, and they haven't printed it that he does lose the claim. But I think he's about to lose his claim imminently. But that 1.5 kilos could make a difference, Neil. And for that reason, I think this is a runner. On some collateral form, I worked out that there's not much between the 8 and the 9, using Thunderstruck, strangely enough, as the line horse. And 7 to 1 about Dungeons for me represents a bit of value, despite the fact that it's not drawn, well, it's drawn at 8. But I'm leaning towards those bottom horses from 8 down.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm going to have a look at them on the way down to the start. I've found in recent times, I've benefited from that. It's so important for punters to have a look at horses going down to the start. Sometimes we don't get to see it, which is a bugbear. I mean, it has to be of primary importance for the broadcaster to show us canter pass rather than harness racing and stuff. And I know that there's people who want to punt and so forth, but you know, the tote turnover and what it does for punters having a look at horses going down to the start. I think that some races can be recorded and shown a minute delayed or something if you are going to ensure that you see, because the problem with recording the canter pass is that then other things happen and then there's 2 minutes left to punt and they're showing the pre-recorded canter pass. And the problem with that is that you're in a queue. You can't get on. It doesn't help anybody because it doesn't help tote turnover or any of that situation. But,
going back many years, you mentioned that, but even going back many years, even if they were solely on the pictures, going back many years ago, I tried to strike a deal with the jockey club and the stipendiary stewards to make the horses go down in sort of an orderly fashion, so that everyone could see each and every horse instead of 2 going by and 3 going by. And it's easier said than done, Neil. And I suppose it has its limitations, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. I don't think we've ever got it right in terms of canter pass in this country, in terms of filming it, A, and in B, in terms of getting it right from a stipendiary steward's point of view, in terms of, right, you go down, focus on that horse. We don't get it. We haven't got it right.
No, and it's my starting point is it's so important. So in race 3, I'm hoping to have a look at these horses, look at the first timer, Atticus Finch, because you'll know from the commentary box perspective, Nico, I mean, sometimes, horses just physically are more advanced or bigger or stronger, and others, bless their cotton socks, are little whippets, and then you suddenly see that and you think, no.
It's a David and Goliath.
Not that some small horses can't be compact and run, but just generally, once you see the horses in the flesh, it completes the picture.
Yeah. Okay, that's the 3rd race. We're leaning towards the younger brigade of horse there. Now on to the 4th race, which is the opening leg of the first jackpot. It's a maiden plate fillies and mares over the 1,400-meter trip. And in race 4, no changes to report. I'll have another look at the updated changes in a moment. But here, Nyali Beach, number 8, the filly by Gimme the Green Light, after a very good debut behind Mercantor, is at 8 to 10, Neil. So that is a hot pot favorite. Chopsticks at 9 to 2 is the nearest rival in the market. And then 6 to 1 Bird in Space and 8 to 1 about Cape Lights. Now, daughter, Give Me the Green Light, the mother front club, was imported to this country by Mary Slack. it's got basically the winning July team together. Who we to doubt that? And you and I know both like this today to win.
Yeah, banker Nico for me. Probably the best bet on the card. Not so much on exposed form, although that's pretty good with the one run, but just what the expectations are. Drawn one, Smunger, Mike, Mary, give me the green light, Fastnet, Rock Mother. I mean, here, it's all there. So I don't think I'm going to reinvent that wheel. She looks very, very hard to beat. And with no disrespect to Arabian Sky and Color Coded, they've had chances, and I'm sure they're going to win races. They're not going to die a maiden, but none of them are going to Hollywood. They've had, Arabian Sky is having a 7th start, Color Code is having a 9th start, and Chopsticks is having a 6th start. So I think Chopsticks still can improve, but the others, I think, have shown what they're capable of, and they will win a race. But I don't see them being able to repel the improvement that I expect from 8, Nyala Beach.
There's a late change here, and that is that Color Coded has got the blinkers off. They've taken the blinkers off to be color coded. So that's a late change over there. Yes, Neil. So I'm very firmly in the camp of Nyali Beach. I think it's going to take a good one to beat her, certainly on that very first run. And I think she'll go close to winning that one. Okay, race 5 is a fillies and mares 73 handicap. This is over 2,400 meters, in complete contrast to the previous race. I was at 6s and 7s here to find a winner. I looked long and hard for a potential winner. I couldn't find one. There's 2 changes here. Both the bottom 2 horses have Alamites in front, Unshod behind. That's Mariposa and Kissed by Fire. But that's the reason why they're betting pretty open. Zazu's the favorite, 33 to 10, number 6. You've got Crusade to Royalty at 7 to 2. And the money horse here is Demover, number 8, who's been backed in from 6s and 7s to 9 to 2. So there's a bit of money for that. 6 to 1 about a couple, 7 to 1 about a couple. It's open.
Yeah, I mean, starting with Demover, the money horse, when I saw her in the race, I thought I was going to have her as my first choice. And I certainly got her in the mix, but she doesn't quite come out on my handicapping as well as I thought she might. Also, before I started looking, I thought, well, it's a bit of a jockey strike in many respects, Craig Zaki getting on board. But then that was countered by the fact that she's got an 11 draw to overcome. So that's also not completely in her favor, although it is over 2,400. So I wouldn't read too much into that. Nico, the Robbie Sage yard is in very good form. We've touched on this. Number 6, Zazu, sets a standard, but I also think number 2, she's a cracker. I know she's got 60 kilograms. She's been drawn quite poorly, actually, at the last couple of starts. She's not well drawn again, but Gavin Lorena rides. Interesting that he's never ridden her. So, and he is riding well. So I give, because Robbie's Sage is in good form, Gavin Lorena is always in good form. She's got a mix. I think you've got to go wide here. Smiley River has come down, let me see, 23 merit rated points, Nico. So Demover, interestingly enough, is down 14 merit rated points, but Smiley River's down 9 more points than even she is. So Smiley River with Smunger booked chance. I think the race is very, very open. The only 2 I don't give any chance to are the bottom 2, 10 and 11. I think you could make a case out for anything, even Go Dream Machine.
Go Dream Machine, has got a couple of horses beat on its form. RDM number 1, if she bounces back to best, even though that run to Opera Glass, she carried only 50, she now carries 10 kilos more, but still it was a much, much classier animal that she was facing on that day. So, even REM at 16 to 1, I'm surprised. I know she's going top weight, but she's very, very capable of going close here, Sean Terry's runner. So I made this open. You're advised to play wide in the 5th race. We move on to race 6 now, which is a fillies and mares 80 handicap, 1,800 meters. No changes in the 6th race, Neil. The money has come for Joey Somers runner again here. So they've obviously taken the doubles in that. Belvard was at 7 to 2, is now 28 to 10. That's the favorite. Kind Judy is at 4 to 1, with Greek Miss at 4 to 1. And then you've got Dark Travel number 10 at 11 to 2. How did you see the 6th race working out?
I think you got to respect the money for Belvard. She's got a lovely pedigree, daughter of Master My Fate out of a Judpot mare. We mentioned Turffontein earlier on. But she is carrying 58.5 kilograms, and she's got to give Greek Miss 1.5 kilograms, which I think will definitely make Greek Miss competitive here. So if you have a look at the last time they met, which was the same race, Belvard was giving her 1 kilogram. Now she's got to give her an extra 0.5 kilogram, which should bring them right alongside. But there's another factor, and that is that Belvard's okay drawn at 4, but Greek Miss has drawn 1. So I can see her bouncing and getting the run of the race with Warren Kennedy. We know it's what that Warren doesn't hang around. He rides them with confidence, and I think he'll be riding Greek Mix the same way. So if I'm comparing value, the way the market's gone, I'd rather be with the Greek Miss at 4-1.
Yeah, just a quick word on Warren Kennedy. He was sidelined for a few days, Neil. They were fearing concussion because he came off a horse the other day at Turffontein. I think it was on the weekend, and he didn't ride on Sunday or Monday. And then I don't think he rode on Tuesday either, but he is back in action today, or he's expected to be back in action today. Yes, those 3 horses, Neil, you mentioned Greek Miss, even Kind Judy. Belvard and Kind Judy nearly dead heated a couple of runs back. Kind Judy got the verdict that day. It was the same course and distance. And on that course and distance run, Belvard is a kilo better off. So you'd expect Belvard to beat Kind Judy literally on that. But then again, Kind Judy was drawn 10 out of 13 that day, and Belvard was drawn 6 out of 13, and Kind Judy's drawn 2. So I think those 3 are much of a muchness. I speak about Belvard in pretty much the same breath as Kind Judy and Greek Miss for that matter. Anything outside of those? What about, I know you liked Princess Kesh last time out. Do you fancy that at all?
No, not really, no, because she's got 60.5. That's quite a tough task for that 3-year-old. Yeah, when she beat Franklin, I liked her. She was only carrying 54.5, but she actually got punished a bit there. She got 5 merit-rated points. So I think as much as I liked her when she won, I didn't like her last time, and she blew in the betting. So no, I'm not going back to that well just yet. And she's drawn 10. I mean, I'm sure she'll run a decent race. The other 3-year-old who might be okay is number 6, Prairie Falcon. But I'm definitely leaning towards Greek Miss. Greek Miss would be my each way play in the race for sure.
And we know that trainer Paul Peters on the cusp of breaking that number of winners in a season, which he should break, today or in coming days. But I mean, it's definitely going to be before the end of the season. He's going to set a new record. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that offers the value there, 4-1. Neil, let's move over to race 7, which is a conditions plate, fillies and mares over 1,160 meters. And there are 2 scratchings now. You can scratch number 2, Winter Smoke, who's come through as a late scratching, in addition to the earlier scratching of number 5, Mill Queen. And here's the betting, Neil. Now, there's been money for Mercury Rising, who's changed stables now with the Paul Peter yard, is 17-10 currently in the market. Was it 7-2, I think, now 17-10, but that is the favorite. The second favorite will be Anna Capri, and then you've got Alula Star and Kayla's Champ number 1, where there was money for that, and she's bidding for her 3rd win in the last 5 outings. Mercury Rising is an interesting horse because she was the horse that was disqualified that one day. Well, not disqualified, ruled a non-runner in the Cartier Scepter Stakes at Kenilworth that one day.
Yeah, she was very unlucky. I mean, by the rules of the Jockey Club, she had to be scratched. But to be fair, she was desperately unlucky. Because I think that she got maybe a marginal advantage, but the way she won that race, she was the deserved winner. So a real bitter pill for the owners to take. I mean, I remember on the day working because John Freeman owned a share of her. And,
yes, that's right.
He came to chat, and I could see how disappointed he was. But being, the sport that he is, and understanding the game, it's just one of those things. But it's under new ownership now. We bumped into the team of owners at the July.
That's
always
right.
Very friendly.
That's right.
And I think this horse is going to be quite hard to beat, Nico. I think, as you know, I told you this morning, I backed it yesterday.
Yes, you got a fair price. I mean, not 7-2 even, a little bit bigger than that.
I got an astonishing price, which unfortunately, I'm going to have to take, and this was after Mill Queen was scratched. So there will be a deduction because of the scratching of the two. But yeah, anyway, I mean, if you just look at what she's run to, Amamsan Toti, Shanzanay, Captain's Ransom twice, Santa Maria, I mean, Supreme Quest, I mean, no, of 52 kilograms, they're really going to have to pick up their feet. As good and as quick as Anna Capri is, and as capable as a Lula Star is, and she's pretty good, and she's only carrying 54, she's still got to give 2 kilograms to Mercury Rising. I think if Mercury Rising is fit and well, very hard to oppose.
Just quickly, an equipment change with Anna Capri. She's got a tongue tie on, Neil, for the first time, and that's interesting because I think, you know, she gets 1,000, we know. The question mark is, will she get 1160? And maybe this is a strategic move to see if she can get the 1160, because she might need every bit of help that she can get. But I thought Gavin Lorena rides her really well. And I thought there was a lot going for the, if I can use the phrase, striking grey, Anna Capri today. And I believe that she was a runner. But I do agree with you on, I mean, even on handicap, Neil, rated 104 net. Anna Capri should be giving her 2.5 and is giving her 5.5. I mean, it's hard to.
Nico, here's the sickening thing, right? Which punters need to understand is she won that race. She was declared a non-runner, but the race was run. So therefore, my understanding is that the handicapper can't be, is for his point of view, the fact that it was a non-runner, I think is irrelevant. So she had to go up. So she went back to a 105, you know, without winning a round. I mean, it's desperately unfortunate. So yeah, but listen, you're right. Even off a 105, I mean, I think she's hard to beat.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you look at that last run, Neil, she was off a 97 in the South African filly sprint. So by running 4 lengths to Captain's Ransom, she's picked up an 8-point penalty. So if you actually go on her last rating of 97, I'm just looking at that very quickly now. If you go on her last rating of 97, she's actually a net 96, which means she's a net 96, which if you go on the ratings is 13, a 6.5. So she's not really that well in if you go on her previous rating, you know.
Yeah, but her previous rating, I think was
out of kilter, Okay, so Neil likes
anyway, we'll see.
Mercury Rising. I think she is the horse to beat. I just had a bit of a sneak for Anna Capri because of the rider. Okay, the 8th and last race runs at 25 past 4. It's over 1,400 meters. It's a merit rated 78 handicap, and there are no changes in the 8th race. By the way, Winter Smoke and Milk Queen I mentioned was scratched in race 7. No changes in the 8th and last race, Neil. And it's 28-10 about this horse Vanderbilt, who hasn't lost since joining the stable. 7-2 the stable companion. Both are strong front runners in this night. And you've got another front runner, Wakas at 7-1, and Beisuye, who won for us at 25-1 last time out, is 9-2 in the market. 6-1 about Bloomington. I thought this was not clear cut. It's obvious it's not as clear cut because of the betting. But I mean, how did you see the last race working out for you?
Yeah, I think very competitive, Nico, and well done for Beisuye. I was with you when you backed it. I'm not so sure you told me you were backing it, but in the last 200 you started yelping.
Yeah, I did start.
And then when you told me you got 25-1, I said, what? I could not believe you got 35-1.
35-1.
How much?
I got 35-1.
Wow. Well, that's
at the jump, literally at the jump. Eric gave me 35-1.
Shish. Yeah. Well, Eric goes me a few 35-1 shots then, if that's the case. Well, that was brilliantly found. But like you, Nico, look, he's not without a chance because he's drawn 2 and so forth. But he went from a 76 to a 78, which is fairly reasonable. But I think this is a different kind of field. Bloomington to me was quite interesting because when he won with Smunger 3 runs back, he was super impressive.
Yes, he was.
And then it was a good run, but there was a story there with being resaddled down at the start. and then a terrible run last time. So I'm not too sure what to make of that. I suppose it was a gravel, yeah, Polly. So put a line through that. I think he'll be competitive off 57, but the list is endless here. I mean, you've got Indus Knight, you've got Southern Blaze. You mentioned Paul Peters, a horse on a hat trick. But he was slung in last time, really, wasn't he? I mean, he had Sasibo taking the weight off.
Yes, correct.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a gut feeling or anything here, Nico. I mean, you mentioned that today you give Rock of Africa, one of our old chestnuts, a chance.
I did like it. The same races I like Bayesier, but it didn't run on. But I'm thinking course preference runs better at this track than it does on the inside track. So I think even with 60 kilos, Rock of Africa at 14-1 must be chucked in. And I fancy it more than I do Bayesier. The other time I fancied Bayesier more than Rock of Africa. And then, Neil, if you look at Southern Blaze, you mentioned at 16-1. I mean, that was a good comeback run, Neil, to Castletown, because Castletown is rated in the hundreds, Neil. So, you know, you have to say that Southern Blaze comes in. But I'm thinking this will be one maybe from the front. Those two horses, Indus Knight and Vanderbilt, providing they don't cut throats, providing they set a decent gallop, could streak away from the field, and they could prove hard to catch for the others in this very fast going, as hard as it is at the moment.
Yeah, no, I'd want to go a few here in the last, Nico. I'm going to actually have another look at the race. I think something's missing. I'm going to have another look at it. I don't think I've worked the key out to this race, to be honest. So I'm going to have another look. Something I'm missing. Don't know what it is. Maybe a Dark Tide's drawn 10.
I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen here. This last race is going to run. It's going to run. And then about 10 minutes after it's run, you're going to get a plethora of tickets being sent to me. Saying,
I had a good day yesterday, didn't I?
Whoop, whoop.
Yes.
You've come out of the Samanga Kamalo closet now with the whoop, whoops and the hoop, hoops and
whoop,
whatever.
Whoop, whoosh.
Yeah,
whoosh.
Yeah, so I can see there's going to be.
I did say, just to explain to people, so it's not an in-house joke. We've got a Clock in the Gallop WhatsApp group, which Lyle Cooper is on, and the Ghost Rider's on, and Nino's on. And they did get a plethora of them yesterday. Yes,
yeah, we did.
But I thought I played the quartet very well. That one quartet paid 5,800. I caught 2.
Yeah, you did.
And then what was the other one that I sent you? Oh, the jackpot quick mixes.
The jackpot quick mixes. Yeah.
Anyway, well, we in a bit of form.
You've hit a purple patch. Before you go, there's a small matter of golf quickly, Neil. Yeah. The Open Championship has started in earnest. It's begun.
Yes.
Quickly, we don't have long left. Your brief selection, if you had to choose a couple.
Let me just show you something quickly, right? After I just told you, this is all I've got left from yesterday. So that's all. And the reason for that is it got reinvested in the golf.
Okay.
So I am heavily involved. I mean, you can't take it with you when you die. So you must reinvest it. Nico, I think.
Can I say something? I smell the blood of an Englishman.
Yes.
So I'm thinking. I
but
think
which one?
I don't know. So I've hinged my betting on the golf on an Englishman. And I think an Englishman will win the 150th tournament. I really do.
Not impossible. I think that a Brit might. I think does Rory McIlroy won't count himself as English. You'd be fuming if you called him English, but he is British.
Yeah.
And the Open is a British tournament because it spends a lot of time in Scotland. A couple of years ago, it was at Portrush in Ireland.
Right. Yeah.
When Shane Lowry won it. So although it's in some respects English, it's more British. So they get around the St Andrews, as you know, there's Muirfield, which are in Scotland, all of these places. So
it was the British Open. It was the British Open before they changed it to the Open, wasn't it? It was called the British Open.
Well, I don't know. I think it's always been the Open.
Yeah.
It's the Open, yeah. So I think you're right. I think, but McIlroy's the trends are there. I mean, I'm not so sure you should run off at 9-1. I ended up, the last bet I took before I left the totes, I said, you know what? I don't think it's a great value bet, but I've won a few rand. I'm going to take the 9.5-1 on Rory McIlroy because I just think he's trending. You know what? Also, Nico, just quickly, we're spending a bit of time on it, but with the Live Tour, right? He has, in the last month and a half, he's come out as almost the unofficial spokesperson. Tiger came to the party yesterday saying he doesn't understand it either. But Rory McIlroy was very outspoken. He's almost taken a leadership role. And I think there's almost that that role he's playing now. Nobody really wants to see a live golf professional who's defected win the Open. They might, but I think that somebody who hasn't defected for the money deserves to win it. And I'm not saying if somebody wins it, they don't deserve to win it. Of course they do. If Dustin Johnson wins, good luck to him. If whoever's defected there, a lot of our South African golfers have defected there. But for the purist, it would be fantastic if the 150th Open was won by a golfer who hasn't defected for the money.
Okay,
that's my take.
Okay,
Neil. Probably Rory McIlroy just arrived in the kitchen.
Yeah, banging and clanging. Neil, thanks very much for today. We'll speak to you again on the weekend, and looking forward to that interview, as we mentioned, with Greg Bort. But thanks for your time, and all the best for this Thursday card at Turffontein today.
Thanks, Nico.
Cheers, bye.